I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, fear of missing out in Vancouver real estate. Every now and again, I'll get a guy on my YouTube channel or on my Twitter, saying Bigland, yeah, he's, always pumping that buy now, best time to buy is now. Real estate goes nothing but up, which of course I've never said. I tell you guys the real estate goes up over long periods of time, but in the short term, who knows? It's going to go up and down and stay sideways for a while, but over 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to do incredible. But, Bigland's a fear of missing out guy. Hurry up and buy, get in the market, who cares what you pay and all that other stuff, which of course isn't true. I think my loyal followers know that. Fear of missing out in real estate, to be honest, I see some of these realtors. There are some people on YouTube. There was some guys out in Toronto. I remember somebody sent me some videos that they were doing on buying pre-sale condos. Buy a couple of them. They go nothing but up. And then 3 or 4 years later, before you complete, you can flip them at great profit. It's all guaranteed, and you're going to make nothing but money. Those guys are terrible. It's complete bullshit. They're pumping the tires on these pre-sales, and you got to be careful with that. There's also a couple of realtors, they do the reverse of that. There's a guy in Toronto that a few people have talked about in the past. He's a realtor in Toronto that his whole shtick is, I'm not that pie in the sky realtor that the market goes nothing but up. And he complains a lot about prices and mortgages and bidding wars and how it's not fair, and don't buy and take your time to buy and all that other good stuff. That's his shtick. It's the reverse of the pump guys. And those guys, in my opinion, aren't doing much better service either. Where the truth kind of lies is it's in a happy medium in the middle that I've always tried to advocate here on my channel here. I'm a big believer, as you guys know, in buying your principal residence sooner rather than later, getting out of that renter treadmill, but not buying just anything. Don't overbuy, don't over leverage, leave yourself a little bit of a buffer for things like interest rate hikes. Although I think now, for the last 10 years I've been telling you that, now I probably we're going to have a tailwind on interest rate hikes now. I think those are over, and we're probably going to see rates coming down over the next 5 years. But I've always advocated that middle, buy. And yes, you should have some urgency to this. Fear of missing out in real estate if you buy the right home, get off that renter's treadmill, it doesn't really exist. You should be buying. You should be a buyer. The alternative is paying $3,000 a month for a small one-bedroom condo and getting nothing back for it, while the prices over time continue to rise and keeping you out of home ownership for life. Eventually you are. I've always talked about it, it's that quicksand. Once you get into that renter's quicksand, it's tough to get out after a while. You get in too deep, you're never getting out. So, fear of missing out, that's something that you would talk about on, borrowing $3,000 to go down to Vegas with your buddies for a weekend. Or buying a sports car that you really can't afford. Or buying that pair of Gucci shoes that you really can't afford. Fear of missing out in real estate, if you're following the guidelines I've given out, doesn't exist. You should be a buyer here. There's that old saying, time is on your side. A lot of people will tell you, well, time isn't on your side when it comes to buying real estate. It's not. And that window, as I often said, is closing, and it's getting narrower and narrower all the time. Buy sooner rather than later. Don't overpay. Hire a good realtor. Buy the right condo. Something that you can keep and grow into, but especially just keep for at least 8 to 10 years. And then later on, if you want to move up the ladder, you always can. But fear of missing out in real estate, follow my golden rules to it that I've done so many blogs on, and you're going to come out far better in the long term. The other thing I'll tell you, as I've talked about many times, Vancouver real estate is not going to get any less desirable. Going forward, I've done lots of blogs on how we're not building anything in this city anymore, and the little bit that is getting built is going to be ultra luxury only. Time is running out for anything that's going to be even remotely affordable, and it can be done. I'm not going to get into in this blog. Go on my Saturday blogs, go on my other blogs, use my search feature on YouTube on all the ways to help you get into real estate and what you're going to have to do to become a first-time buyer here. And I'm working with young people every month that are doing it with no help from mom and dad. But Vancouver is going to continue to get more and more desirable as we move forward. We've got things here. I'm just reading in the front page of the Wall Street Journal yesterday. Front page, the economic cost of Houston's heat. I don't want to live here anymore. And, it's so hot in the summer there, and there's a whole bunch of these Sunbelt cities down in the U.S. that are almost unlivable in the summer months. Texas, Houston, Dallas, South Florida. Look at the weather we have had here this summer. Beautiful sunny days, not too hot. At nighttime, it cools down. You don't need an air conditioner for the most part. Water, mountains, mild winters. Sure, we get a little bit of rain. I just got back from New York City last month. It was 94 degrees every day, humid. Felt like you had a wet blanket on you walking around for 5 minutes. Your shirts are soaking wet. We've got it incredible here, and that's not going to change. But, fear of missing out. I think most of you guys know I'm not one of those fear of missing out realtors. And anyone that kind of comes at me with that obviously doesn't know who I am or has watched my blogs very long. Ask yourself this. I've told you guys, go back into my archives. I've got 13 years worth of video, 700 videos in there. Have a look at the advice I've been doling out for the last 13 years. I don't think there's very many YouTube channels out there that have the track record I've got. I've always just given you guys the straight goods, the practical advice. Get into home ownership as sooner rather than later. Fear of missing out. Gee, time is not on your side if you're in your 20s here. It's not. If you wait until you're in your late 30s, early 40s, it probably is going to be too late. You're in that renter treadmill for life, which is going to devastate you financially. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.